In this video, I'm going to run through my experience visiting Temple Square in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm going to give some of my perspective as a Christian, and yes, security was called on me, so stick around to the end to find out why. Temple Square is in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, and I think when I first went, I was imagining that this place would be just swarmed with Mormons. I think maybe my perception was a little skewed. I was thinking it would be like Kaaba, the Mecca, Saudi Arabia, for Muslims. And I thought it would be the equivalent for Mormons, but not really. I don't know if it's because construction is being done on the temple right now, but it was actually really calm the entire time that I was there. And maybe I was thinking of like Staples Center, downtown LA, downtown Salt Lake City, you got the Delta Center, but it's not that same vibe at all. The town is really calm. If you go on the churchofjesuschrist.org website, go over to Temple Square, things to do, you'll see a couple different options. I checked out the Tabernacle choir rehearsal. I had heard of the name before. I didn't even know what they do really, so I just figured why not check it out. It's about what you'd expect. Good choir. They sing pretty well. And it was free. An interesting note about the songs and hymns that they sing, though, apparently Emma Smith, Joseph Smith's first baby mama, she gathered a lot of hymns that were being sung at other churches, and, they started to sing those too. And then, eventually they even changed some of the hymns to match the new doctrine. While I was there, they were singing a song that just said hallelujah a bunch of times. So how could you not get behind that? But it seems a little sneaky.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
To, take some songs, copy and paste, and then change some words. And I could see how somebody who back then in the 1800s was walking by one of the churches, they hear these songs, they, oh yeah, I know that song. So it's just an interesting way to get people in the door. I went to an organ recital by this guy, Lynn Trapp, and apparently this isn't just any guy when it comes to the organ. He basically committed his entire life to the organ in college. He studied it in college. I didn't even know that was a major, but yeah, I think he majored in organ. And then he went on to go get his doctorate. So he's not just Lynn Trapp, he's actually Dr. Trapp. I didn't even know you could be a doctor in music. The guy was a beast. It was really cool to see the organ in action. Apparently, the organ in the Tabernacle is one of the biggest throughout the U.S. I will say the one thing I was really disappointed in, though, was that he did not play the Dracula song. As a organ noob, that's literally the only song that I know. Would have been cool to hear that live. All these events that I saw online were free. The choir rehearsal, the organ recital, the museum, the family search center, which brings me to the conference center. Now, the conference center, I called and they have free tours every hour on the hour. And so I told my friend, hey, let's do one of these free tours. Let's go see if it inspires any new questions and then, see what that can tee up for a more one-on-one discussion. We went, did the tour, and when I got there, I'm thinking, hey, this is Salt Lake City. We are at the LDS HQ, and you would think you want the absolute A team for your tour guides. We were greeted by two 18 to 20-year-old girls, but then upon further investigation, further thought, I realized this is the A-team. Think about it. Girls tend to get along with girls, and then there's the off chance that dudes will just simp for these little missionary girls. If they're invited to church, yeah, sure, I'll go to church on Sunday with you. Why not? While other religions are playing checkers with their tour guides, the Mormon church is playing chess. Think about it. The tour is pretty cool, though. Building is super clean. You get to check out the auditorium. There's 21,000 seats in there. I don't think I've ever seen an auditorium that big besides sports arenas. So you work your way up from the bottom floor to the top. You get to see paintings of stories from the Book of Mormon. The tour guide made sure to stress a point when we were at the paintings. They said, hey, we believe in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Book of Mormon, and the words of our prophet. Now, for me, this is where red flags should start to go up. The verse that instantly comes to mind for me is Galatians 1:8-9. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one that we preach to you, let them be under God's curse. As we have already said, so now I say again, if anybody is preaching to you a gospel other than what you accepted, let them be under God's curse. Think about it. Paul really wanted to drive this point home. There was going to be new versions that pop up later, and he knew it. And he could have said this and then closed later. No, he wanted to stress it back to back. Then they showed images of Joseph Smith being visited by Moroni. If you don't know how the Mormon church started, Joseph Smith claims he was visited by an angel named Moroni in 1823, and he told Joseph about golden plates in a hill that he would translate using two seer stones, Urim and Thummim. Now, let's give Joseph Smith full credit. Let's give him 100% credit. Let's say he wasn't on any drugs or anything. I don't even know what types of drugs were around in 1823. He's completely sober. And let's say he was visited by an angel. Even then, what comes to mind for me is 2 Corinthians 11:14 and 15. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. So in my honest opinion, if he really saw an angel and it's telling him this different version of Jesus Christ, I really believe that he saw Satan or a demon. Who am I though? I'm just a random dude on the internet. Mormons, I'm not trying to stir up beef. Let me know when you hear these verses of the New Testament that you supposedly we agree on that, but then we have different things in the Book of Mormon. So let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know your thoughts. Eventually, you pass through what my friend called the Hall of Fame room. They have a bronze statue of like each of the prophets leading back all the way to Joseph Smith. And then that leads to this giant statue of Jesus. And the statue of Jesus has Matthew 11:28 carved into it. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And look, yes, most people tend to explore religion when life's not going their way. Finances are tough. Your wife just left you. Your husband just left you. Whatever it may be, most people tend to come to religion when they're burdened, you know what I mean? And they're looking for help. And the tour guide pointed out, this is what it's all about. Everything is for Jesus. Everything we do is for him. And how can you not get behind that cause, you know what I mean? And I wasn't going to like try to go to war, but I feel like when we get to pick and choose, hey, I like Matthew 11:28, but then I'm also going to add on this thing, we're subconsciously breaking the first commandment, which in Exodus 20 verse 3, it says, you shall have no other gods before me. And the way that I take that is, hey, no other gods besides what is described in this book, and you can't change it. Again, I could be 100% wrong, but I feel like it's intellectually dishonest to say we agree in everything of the New Testament and we're adding on this. Like it literally like is a contradiction in itself. So if you don't think it is, let me know in the comments. I then went over to the History Museum. There's lots of different things, you know, from the 1800s. Cool to see just some of those old things from the past. Then they show you a printing press and they tell the story about how when Mormonism was first getting started, nobody wanted to print this thing. And eventually everyone has a price. If you made it this far, you're probably wondering how security got called on me. The following morning I called back. If you look at the website, there is a section that says personalized 20 to 30 minute lesson from missionaries of the Church of Jesus Christ. After the tour, I had some questions like the ones that I mentioned earlier and some others. So I called the number. I said, hey, I'm interested in doing this personalized discussion. And they said, yeah, come on by. I said, cool. Can I, record this discussion? And they said, most likely not. What do you want to do with it? And I said, well, what I do is I explore different religions. I explore different faiths and, let people tell what they believe, how they came to believe that. And then, I'm Christian, so I do notice some differences. So I kind of want to ask about that too. And they said, well, we don't like to focus on the differences. We like to focus on the similarities. Maybe the long play here is, hey, we're not that different. You're just reading material that's 1,700 years old. You just got to get with the times. Like, we're on the same team here. You're just behind. So I don't know what the play there is, but regardless, they said that I could still come by later that day. I showed up, and I think the 3 missionaries that were going to have this discussion with me were not on the same page as the person that I spoke to. The missionaries thought it was just a general tour, and maybe that is the personalized discussion. Instead of going on this group tour every hour on the hour, you kind of have your own personal tour, more one-on-one time. So maybe little quick one-off questions are easier, things like that. But they definitely weren't on the same page. When I told them what I wanted to do, they said, hey, let's ask Elder so-and-so. So they call this guy. Eventually I see a bigger guy coming down the hallway, and he makes his way over. I think this is Elder so-and-so. And he introduces himself as security, and he says, what's going on here? What do you want to do? He was still calm and nice, and he shook my hand, and I explained, hey, I like to explore different faiths and beliefs and let people tell what they believe and why, and then, maybe ask some questions along the way. He was super nice. He just, hey, look, any filming on site is strictly prohibited unless it's approved directly from our communications team. I said, hey, I get it. And then I said, would audio be an option? He just said, no, like anything recording, audio, anything like that is just going to be strictly prohibited unless it's already approved. He was kind enough to give me the communications team number, but I think maybe he might have just been, that was his nice way of pushing me towards the door. I've only had so many interactions with security in my life. This was one of the nicer ones. So I will give him props for that. My friend said me fighting security would have been good footage for you guys, but I just figured, hey, it's not my style. So guys, if you made it this far, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Am I right? Am I wrong? And let me know what you would like me to explore next. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.